Hey guys, Preston here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm coming at you with a Steelers preview. I'm going to do these for hopefully every Steelers game this year. We're breaking down, taking a look at, and predicting the first game for the Steelers of the year, this time being Monday night. I'm recording this on the 10th of September. They play on the 14th, 4 days away. Couldn't be more excited. I'm rocking the away Minkah Fitzpatrick jersey because they are the away team technically this game. I think the fact there will be no fans at MetLife Stadium for this game is a decent factor. Obviously, the Giants are still allowed to pump in crowd noise, but I believe it was set at 80 decibels, so it won't be as loud as it could be with a rowdy fan base. Either way, we're going to kind of take a look at these teams, what they sort of did last year and what they kind of expect from them this year, who's returning, who's not, some impact guys to take a look at for both teams. Sorry, I'm pulling some more stuff up just to kind of get as much analysis as I can for you guys. Just give me a second. All right, so I got a bunch of stats and stuff to look at for these teams pulled up. Which just quickly, we're going to take a look at this Giants roster. They returned their leading passer and runner from last season. This team kept the most of its core. They didn't really lose anyone big, but they also don't have a lot of big guys to lose. One sec. And I don't know where he is still. Okay, so their leading tackler is gone, and Antoine Buffet, who actually had 110 tackles last year. He is currently a free agent just on the street. They did bring in some other guys to address this issue, but we'll kind of get to that later. First, let's kind of just take a look at this Giants offense. Daniel Jones is returning after his rookie campaign. A pretty decent rookie campaign, finishing the year with a 61% completion percentage for 3,027 yards. 24 touchdowns and 12 picks in the 13 games he played. Unfortunately, fumbles were his biggest issue. For some reason, the stat is not on ESPN's. Jones fumbles. If we just looked it up, we'll see if they give us anything. But fumbles are definitely a concern for Daniel Jones. We know this already. 10 times, it looks like, I just saw from SB Nation, the man fumbled a lot. Okay. It says he had 6 fumbles rushing last year. I don't know. So he had at least 6 fumbles last season. From what I heard, ball security was definitely an issue for Daniel Jones, and I think that's something you want to take note on this game, especially with the defense the Steelers have. TJ Watt had 8 forced fumbles last year, and Bud Dupree also had a couple forced fumbles. Same with Cam Hayward. Okay, the Steelers, they led the league in forced turnovers last year, and when you're going against a second-year quarterback, there's a good chance the Steelers' defense is going to at least get one turnover this year, either a forced fumble from one of the guys on the edge coming in and hitting Daniel Jones, who hasn't really been real great at ball security, or the young quarterback making a mistake and getting picked off by this very solid Steelers secondary, which included Joe Hayden and Minkah Fitzpatrick, who both had 5 interceptions last season. So Daniel Jones is going to need to really step up if this Giants team wants to win. He's going to have to hold on to that ball and not make a lot of mistakes that you expect young quarterbacks to do. He had a pretty good year. Obviously, there's always the chance that sophomore slump is kind of a common trope in the NFL. Hopefully, for Giants fans, it doesn't happen for him, but you never know. I think this obviously is a pretty hard test for this young kid to come out. This is his first full year starting. Obviously, he played in 13 games last year. Manning started the season, so first time with the team to himself, and he has to come out and deal with the Steelers defense, who is definitively a top 5 defense this year. To me, they're probably the best defense in the NFL this year. I mean, sure, you can debate, but to me, they're definitely up there. Definitely top 5, probably top 3. Their interception leader has also gone on defense, but if we're looking more on the offense, obviously Saquon Barkley returning is the biggest thing. He had 1,003 yards last year, even in the 13-game kind of injury-filled season he had. I think it was knee or thigh or something issues he had the whole year, and that kind of hurt him a little bit stats-wise. He probably could have had a bigger year than he did. But even with all that stuff, the man still averaged 4.6 yards per carry and had 6 touchdowns, averaging 77.2 rushing yards per game. I'd look on them to lean on Saquon Barkley a lot this game, especially, like I said, the Steelers' defense is legit. You don't want your young quarterback trying to make a lot of throws. You don't want to have to win the game through the air, so it's going to be important that this Giants offense gets Saquon Barkley going early and often. Receiving-wise, they have some decent names to look at. They also added a running back. The only semi-big free agent signing I can think of for the Giants on the offense is running back Dion Lewis, who has always been a nice complimentary back. this time to go with Saquon Barkley. He had 209 rushing yards last year and 164 receiving yards. So not as great. His 2018 year is when he kind of had his best thing going on with 517 rushing yards and 400 passing yards. I think he's a decent second option. You can kind of get him in there as a receiving back, a third down guy. Maybe give Saquon a break every once in a while if Saquon needs it. So a pretty solid backup running back there they added. For looking at the receiving game, I think the biggest matchup we'll have to take a look at is the Steelers' defense is very stout, but their biggest weakness would probably be that slot guy covering the slot guy and the tight ends. Hilton's a good slot corner, but guys with speed and pretty good slot receivers can take advantage of that matchup. The Steelers might have to look into playing Cam Sutton more in coverage in that slot role. The biggest thing to watch out will be that tight end matchup. The Steelers have historically struggled against tight ends, especially with current defensive coordinator Keith Butler. They always murder us, especially if, depending on how stubborn they are, there's a chance this is where the Giants can take the biggest advantage because the Steelers are gonna want to play middle linebacker Vince Williams because he is the best inside linebacker they have when it comes to run defense, and obviously Saquon is a huge running threat. But the offense can take advantage of that by throwing the tight end Evan Ingram a lot, who didn't have a great, 467 yards, and he only played 8 games, though, so that's the thing you want to look at. His health has always been an issue, but he does look to be starting in this game, so depending on how he comes back from those injuries, he's definitely a threat. He's a receiving tight end first and foremost, so his blocking isn't much of a factor, but like I said, he can take advantage of a matchup if they try to put Vince Williams on him, and even Devin Bush, he's younger, it's only his second year, it'll be a tough challenge for him for sure. I think the Giants' best bet on offense is going to have to do those slot inside routes, soft zone stuff, because those Steelers corners and Minkah Fitzpatrick are going to be working in the back, and they're going to shut down some of those, your outside receivers and your deep routes. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe they play Minkah, they let him roam. They've been talking about that. Maybe let him roam in the middle of the defense, shut down some of those routes. I think it's going to be an interesting scheming battle between these teams, especially in offense. But like I said, the Giants' best bet is to get Saquon going running and pick up the inside with routes to guys like Golden Tate in the slot, or really I think Tate or Shepard can play in that slot. It'll be interesting to look at. Tate had 607 receiving yards last year, 676 in the 11 games he played, and Slayton had 740 in the 14 games he played. Both pretty good numbers. So, yeah, keep a lookout. Like I said, the Steelers' defense is very, very, very solid, and this Giants' offense is only kind of okay at best, if you ask me. I think team ranking-wise, if I can pull that up for us. I have to get to it, guys. Sorry. If we look at total team offense, the Giants were, obviously the Steelers were worse without Big Ben, but the Giants were 19th in the league, so, below middle of the pack, slightly below. Not great, but not horrible. They definitely got some work to do, though, for sure. It's 16 fumbles lost last season, along with 33 turnovers lost, which isn't a great recipe for success when you have a Steelers defense who forced the most turnovers in the league. So that's something to keep your eye out for. Compare that to the Steelers defense, this is the matchup obviously we're going to look at. The Steelers defense was 6th in total team defense last year, 1st in sacks and 1st in turnovers, and they're no slouch. I think they're even better this year. The fact you add in, you get Sean Davis, he technically left, but he's back now, who's a starting capable safety who's going to be your backup, your third safety. That's a great addition to that already stout defense. You have a healthy Stephon Tuitt, who had, I believe it was 3.5 sacks in the 5 games he played last season, off to a very hot start with this team. The fact you get him now means if you choose to double team TJ Watt or Bud Dupree, Hayward or Tuitt is just going to take huge advantage of that. So there's not much this Giants offensive line can do. I think if you're looking for the X factor, if you want to look at the impact guys on this game, I'm going to say TJ Watt is the X factor on the Steelers defense. He's going to have to really take advantage of Cam Fleming, the Giants offensive tackle, who's getting his first start this game. Same with Bud. Bud has to work against Andrew Thomas, who's probably better than Fleming, but he's a rookie, and it's his first start as well. The center is making his first start at center. So really the whole defensive line, but if you have to pick one guy, I'd say TJ Watt, because obviously he's the best of them, if you ask me. And so the Giants' biggest X factor, obviously, is Saquon, but if you need what really has to play well is that offensive line. Like I said, 3 guys starting for the first time, and already relatively weak offensive line units going against one of the best front sevens, best defenses, but definitely best pass rush in the NFL. Statistically led the league in sacks 3 years in a row with a healthy Tuitt. That's going to be a nightmare matchup for this Giants offensive line, and it's something I think the Steelers take really big advantage of, and it probably how they force some turnovers, even on Jones having to throw it away quick and making some bad decisions, or him not holding onto the ball because of his horrible ball security we saw from last season. So I think this Giants offense really has to rely on Barkley if they want to get anything going. Offensive-wise for the Steelers team, they appear to be on the up and up compared to last season. Obviously, last year was a mess. I mean, their 2 quarterbacks combined had about 2,800 passing yards, which is lower than Ben definitely would have. Big Ben is back, which is huge. He's actually said this is the first time he hasn't felt pain in his arm in a long time, which is a good thing you want to hear. Apparently they have a documentary about Big Ben coming back. He mentioned that he actually, one of the things he tore in his arm, I think it was like flexors or something. He had one torn for a long time, which was affecting, it looked like it was affecting his deep ball in recent years. But now, since the rest of them tore, he had them all fixed, all patched up, all good to go. So his throw should even be better. I'd look for his deep ball to actually improve compared to the recent years when that first injury initially happened. If we're going to look just at the last year he was healthy, which was 2018, he led the league in passing yards with 5,129, a 67% completion percentage, 34 touchdowns. The only thing you want to fix up a little bit is those 16 interceptions, which is a little bit high. Ben's definitely turned more into a gunslinger in recent years, throwing 16, 13, 14, and 16 picks respectively. I think part of that is he's always tried to force the ball to his top guy. Hopefully this year he's really not going to be able, he really shouldn't do that. He really can't afford to do that. This offense is a lot more balanced and spread out this year, especially in that young receiving core, where all of them have a lot of potential and none of them has truly emerged as a top guy just yet. I think his best bet is to spread the ball around to all these young wide receivers and the new addition of tight end at Eric Ebron, who we're going to talk about. Eric Ebron's probably the biggest impact signing the Steelers brought in this year, and the fact that he is on this team makes me very excited. He is fully healthy again, good to go. He is playing this game. From what I heard, he really worked on continuing to improve his catching this year. His hands have gotten even better and better. Had a jugs machine that he worked with continuously during the offseason. Last year wasn't great. Like I said, he only started in 2 games and had a pretty bad ankle injury from what I can see here. He might have played in 11, started in 2. He had 52 targets, caught 31 of them for 375 yards and 3 touchdowns. So nothing great. His catching percentage was okay at 59.6. Tight ends never have as solid hands as the wide receivers, but his best year by far was in 2018 when he got to play with Andrew Luck, who you could say is a very good quarterback, and Big Ben is definitely better than Jacoby Brissett and the other backup, Brian Hoyer, who the Colts had to use last season. So his quarterback play improves again back to that 2018 standard where he actually had 750 passing yards, receiving yards, and 13 touchdowns. I think Ebron's a very solid red zone threat. From what I've heard, he's been loving Pittsburgh, been getting along well with all of his teammates and developing very nicely onto this team. I'd love for him to make a big impact, especially week 1. Depending on who they try to put on him, it might be a matchup mistake. The Giants have a lot of young, unproven, most of them actually rookie linebackers, and if you're trying to put any of those guys on Ebron, it'll be a matchup mistake. They might have to move Jabril Peppers down or even put Logan Ryan on the line on Eric Ebron. Like I said, what loans itself well to the Steelers team is the weapons they have and the options they have on this receiving room make it really hard for this young, inexperienced Giants secondary to do much. They have 3 decent guys in this secondary. Well, proven guys in you have 2 proven guys in James Bradberry and Logan Ryan. But Logan Ryan's only been with the team for a week. It'll be interesting to see if he can seemingly mesh into the system. He hasn't had a lot. All of his conditioning and practicing he's been doing by himself. He hasn't been a part of a team until a week ago. And so it's going to be interesting to see where they put him. They might try to shadow him on Juju, who will probably play in the slot. But no matter what, there'll always be 1 or 2 guys who'll get to take advantage of a very favorable matchup playing against like a Corey Ballantyne. Because, let's say hypothetically, they put James Bradberry on Deontay, Logan Ryan on Juju. Those are your top 2 corners. So now you have Peppers you can maybe put on Ebron or someone else, but then that means James Washington and Chase Claypool get to eat deep threat guys with a lot of potential. Washington actually led the team in passing yards last year with 737 yards and looked to keep improving on himself. And Chase Claypool has really flashed his potential in camp and has great size and speed at 6'4", and he ran a 4.4, I believe. And so, like I said, no matter who they try to cover, the Steelers are going to have a matchup advantage they can try to take advantage of. So the key for the team this game receiving will be Big Ben to spread the ball, find the open guy. I think these receivers are talented enough they can still probably get open sometimes. I don't think Bradbury's going to fully lock down James Watt, Juju, or Deontay. Same with Logan Ryan. I think these guys can still find opportunities to be open. But really feel free to take advantage of whoever guys like Corey Ballantyne or any of the other young corners they have to try to trot out this year due to people opting out and robbing people when it comes to DeAndre Baker. Look to take advantage of those opportunities, find the mismatches, and exploit them heavily. This offense is way more balanced than it's ever been. It's not just Antonio Brown and random guys. It's a very solid, spread-out offense that they really need to take advantage of this year. That'll be the key to the Steelers' offense, is spreading that ball around on the passing game. On the running game, look for James Conner to get it going. I'm sure they're going to emphasize the running game early and often. The offensive linemen they have playing this game, they chose to start Zach Banner at right tackle over Chucks, and Banner's more of I think Chucks is better at pass protection, and Banner's better at run blocking. I think that's kind of a key that shows you that the teams kind of want to get this run game going. James Conner also fell victim to injuries and a lack of Ben. I know you might wonder how the running game would be affected without Big Ben, but to me, it's obvious. The fact that teams last year were not scared of Mason Rudolph or Devin Hodges throwing the ball meant that they could really stack the box and put as many people as possible in the running lanes because they weren't worried about getting burnt deep, which meant James Conner was running into brick walls and pretty much the entire defense every time they tried to hand him the ball. He still managed to average 4 yards per carry with a 464 yards in a down year. Only played in 10 games due to injuries, but he will be healthy. Benny Snell is going to look to make an improvement on his second year, which still is pretty solid, averaging 3.9 yards while dealing with the same issues of stacked boxes that James Conner had to deal with. So like I said, Ben coming back alone will mean he'll be able to see blitzes better, adjust the line. He'll also just make sure that the defenses cannot put all their chips right into the front and stop the run game. So look for James Conner to have a way better year. And I think this running back rotation with rookie Anthony McFarland, who brings a lot of speed. Benny Snell is a good power back. Samuels, who's a good receiving back, and Conner, who's kind of a good all-around back. I think he'll get them all involved. Matt Canada is a quarterbacks coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. He's actually from the college ranks, and Big Ben already talked about how this offense is going to look a little different. Canada had some influences. There's going to be look for a lot of motions and kind of trickery with people moving on the front of the line to confuse the defenses. You'll really never know who gets the ball. I'm really excited about what a guy like Matt Canada can bring to this offense, bring some more college-like looks and people moving around. Like I said, a lot of motions, a lot of rotations. Get these defenses confused and get some speedy guys out there. I think that's part of why Ray McLeod made the team over Ryan Switzer. In fact, he's a very, very elite speed, not receiver, elite speed, especially compared to Ryan Switzer. You get guys like him, Deontay Johnson, rookie. Johnson's a receiver, but did run a couple reverses last year very well. Anthony McFarland, very fast guy, can take some of those out routes and reverses and stuff. So, yeah, look for that. Look for some trickery. Look for speed guys getting out in the open. I really like this running back room's young and has a lot of potential. Like I said, if you click my tag, I have the playlist of my Steelers positional breakdowns. I already took a look at the Steelers quarterback room, wide receiver room, tight end room, and running back room, so you can kind of see what I think about this Steelers offense and what they bring to the table this season. So, yeah, I'm not real worried about this offense. The X factor is obviously Big Ben's play. The last couple of years, he's been pretty piss poor in these opening games, which has me very worried, especially considering the fact he hasn't played in over a year. So he'll be rusty regardless for being off so long, but he also has this tendency to not play great in his opening games. Luckily for us, you also have that match with the fact that the Giants have historically, they've been pretty bad on these primetime games where Pittsburgh has been good. It'll be interesting to see how it kind of all balanced out with the head stuff. Hopefully Big Ben could come out strong, come out swinging. And if he can't do great, as long as he just plays a little better than Rudolph and doesn't turn over the ball, I think the Steelers' defense and an improved running game can carry this team. Something to look out for is the fact that David DeCastro is not playing this game, but luckily Steven Wisniewski has starting experience, actually started with the Chiefs in the playoffs and did a very good job and helped them get that Super Bowl win. He will be plugging in for him at guard this game, as well as I mentioned Banner is starting right tackle. It'd be a little concerning, but like I said, Wisniewski is more than capable of being a starting guard role in the NFL, and you pair that with the fact that the Giants' pass rush is not great. They have good run stuffers with Dexter Lawrence and Dalvin or Devlin Tomlinson, but they don't really have a lot of pass rush. They have Marcus Golden, who's pretty good at it, had 10 sacks last year. But that's about it. A lot of unproven guys in that Giants defense, especially in the linebacking room and secondary. So I think the Steelers offense can take advantage of that. I already mentioned, looking at this Giants defense, I mentioned guys like James Bradbury, who came over as a free agent from the Panthers. A decent guy, had 3 interceptions last season and 12 passes defended. So pretty good year from him. Used to playing good wide receivers, obviously being in that NFC South. Had to deal with guys like Mike Evans and Michael Thomas on a consistent basis. So I think he's very solid. He'll be a good guy, but like I said, they don't have enough to stop the balanced attack of the Steelers wide receiver room. Like I said, they have 4 starting capable, very good, young, hungry wide receivers, along with 2 starting capable tight ends. I didn't even mention Vance McDonald, who will look to bounce back. McDonald has a connection with Big Ben. They already have an established relationship and chemistry. And like I said, for some reason last year, our quarterbacks were like allergic to throwing to tight ends, so Vance McDonald will have a better year as well. And so even imagine if you keep both those guys out there, that's definitely more of an even better matchup exploitation, because even if you can move a safety on one of them, that means someone's not having deep help, or there's going to be a linebacker trying to guard one of these tight ends, a very young, unexperienced linebacker. Their biggest additions, like I said, Logan Ryan, who just came in a week ago, unfortunately means he doesn't have a lot of time with the system. He had a pretty solid year last year with 4 picks and 18 passes defended. He's getting older, though, 29, I believe. There's been some rumors that maybe he'll play at safety due to the Giants losing Xavier McKinney, who was supposed to be their starting strong safety this year, second-round pick, or maybe free safety, sorry. So there's really got 2 options. Ryan's a very maneuverable guy. The Giants' defense is going to look different this year. I think the guy they have is someone who worked with the Dolphins, who ran a weird front. Same with the Patriots. They mix up a lot, play a lot of different positions. Not a lot of defensive linemen all the time, mix it up. So look for Ryan to kind of be all over the field. The only question will be if he's ready for that role after being off for so long. Obviously, he has experience with New England, which is kind of what that scheme is kind of like over there with the Giants. Obviously, their head coach being from New England, he brought in guys who kind of do that Giant-like system. My only concern, like I said, my only concern is how in shape he'll be, how ready he'll be. First game, he didn't get a camp with anyone, kind of coming in trying to plug and be a valuable piece right away. But no matter what, the rest of the corners could be exploited pretty easy if you ask me. Blake Martinez was probably their best addition on the inside. He is not much of a coverage guy, if you ask me. He is more of what you'd say he's like a tackle machine. He had 155 tackles last year, including 5 tackles for a loss and 3 QB hits, 3 sacks. Not bad. Only 1 pick, which isn't horrible. Like I said, he's definitely more of a tackle guy. Look to make a big difference in that run game. I think the Giants' defense... Oh, okay. Apparently, Blake Martinez is questionable with a foot injury. Before this ends, I'm going to look up the injury report for both teams because, unfortunately, I just saw that Deontay Johnson did not practice today with a foot-related issue. But there's a lot of guys questionable heading into NFL games, so especially even with Martinez, too, they both could just be precautionary things. Try not to hurt them going into the week 1. We'll have to see. Without Deontay Johnson, I think that obviously will make a difference, but I still think the Steelers are good enough. They should get it done. A little spoiler ahead for my prediction. So, yeah, that Giants defense is okay. Like I said, their leading tackle was actually Antoine Bethea, who is gone. If we're looking at defensive stats, I already told you the Steelers were 6th in team defense. The Giants were... I have to find that. For some reason, I'm missing them. 30th in total team defense, and that defense really did not improve super drastically. 2 decent corners and Blake Martinez are pretty solid additions, but I still think they'll be middle of the pack at best, probably still below that with a lot of inexperienced, very young linebackers and secondary behind the guys I just mentioned. So the Steelers really need to capitalize off that. Their offense will definitely be better than what it was last year. It was atrocious last year, but that's the only thing is you don't really know what the Steelers offense is going to be. Like I said, Matt Canada brings some changes to it, and the fact that you have Big Ben back and adding guys like Chase Claypool and Eric Ebron should jump them up to at least the middle of the pack, which will still be better than the Giants' defense. I don't hate this Giants team. I think they're just, young, unproven, and still kind of trying to rebuild and grow from where they were. I think that offensive line will be their biggest detriment this game, and I look for that Steelers defense to absolutely take over. COVID football has been weird so far. Some of these college games have really been unpredictable. Teams have come off super sloppy, super messy. We'll have to see how this goes, but I have a feeling Big Ben wins. It might be a closer game than people would think. I'm going to go 24-13. Could be closer than that. Could be bigger than that. It's a weird game. Like I said, COVID's weird. Makes it all weird. A lot of unknowns with both teams. Big Ben's coming back for the first time, but the Steelers have a lot more continuity and no opt-outs compared to the Giants, who have brand new coaching staff everywhere. So this is the staff trying to implement their system for the first time, and all these guys are trying to learn it, and it's a different thing than, in practice than actually having to do it live with your new coach, new coordinators, new everything. So I think that also lends to the Steelers' favor, is the fact that people are still, the continuity is there on the Steelers side. Real quick, guys, I'm going to pull up an injury report, see if I can see what's going on there. Oh, Steelers are 5.5-point favorites according to DraftKings is what it looks like. So I guess according to my score, I'd take the over. Like I said, this game could still be closer than I thought. Okay, the official injury report hasn't really been listed yet. But like I said, Blake Martinez showed up with a foot injury according to the stats website I looked at. And Deontay Johnson was listed as questionable, but we know for a fact that David DeCastro will not play this game. 4 others are questionable. Okay, so let me pull these up real quick, both teams. So it looks like the Giants will actually be pretty good to go. Marcus Golden, who was their sack leader last year, was sick and did not participate in Thursday's practice, but he'll look to probably be ready to go by Monday. Guys listed as limited were Adrian Colbert, linebacker Tate Crowder, and wide receiver Golden Tate, along with a backup tight end. Golden Tate's probably the biggest name there. He's had a lingering kind of hamstring thing since August that has been listed as day-to-day, but for what it looks like he's expected to play. But it'll be something to look at. Maybe they'll hobble him a little bit, make him less effective for this game. If we're looking at the Steelers injury report, they're a little more banged up, unfortunately. You have David DeCastro officially listed as out with a lower body injury. It really sucks for DeCastro. It'll take him longer to get going. He hasn't really gotten a lot of practice yet, and there's no return date, so unfortunately he might miss a couple games, which sucks for us Steelers fans. But like I said, Steven Wisniewski was a very solid addition last season and is looking even better now. A backup with plenty of starting experience who could probably start for a lot of NFL teams wanting to come home to us. Means he'll get to prove himself and show what he's worth these next couple games if DeCastro was out that long. Unfortunately, Deontay Johnson is questionable with a calf. He suffered a calf injury in late August and not entirely healed yet. So we don't know if he can play or not. They'll probably wait until the actual day to make that decision. Hopefully he gets to play. McFarland suffered a concussion on August 27th and apparently still going through the protocol. Hopefully he'd be cleared by then. So we don't know what's going on quite yet. There's too many stupid injuries, man. Luckily, 4 are questionable. Like I said, teams tend to have questionable guys. The limited kind of means questionable. So it looks like I didn't find an official Giants report that has actual out and questionable. They just had guys limited to practice, guys not limited. New fullback Derek Watt is also listed as questionable with a shoulder injury. He's still going under rehab for knee and injury sustained in his final game towards last season. While hoping this has not happened yet. He misses the first game. Okay, they said there's a chance he misses the first game, but after that he should be good to go. Fullback, it sucked not having a fullback again, but I think they could be okay. You could probably use worst case scenario. I mean, Derek Watt's definitely a better blocker than some of these guys, but a guy like Benny Snell is more than capable of kind of being that fullback blocking role, especially against this not as strong Giants defense. And a long snapper is apparently questionable. Good sign is that we haven't brought in a replacement, which means he'll probably still get to play. They said the possibilities is the Steven Wisniewski, Pouncey, or even Vance McDonald is taking practice reps as a long snapper. So long snapper is one of those positions you don't think about, but hopefully, I mean, as long as any of the guys having to fill in doesn't make a giant mistake, it won't be something huge. So obviously the Steelers are a little more banged up, but they also have a better roster and deeper team. I think they can handle it a little better than the Giants could. Prediction-wise, I already gave it. I have the Steelers winning this game. Let me know what you guys think about this game. I think it can be closer than some people think. I think they'll probably still win by at least a touchdown. But with Steelers have been weird in openers. Same with Big Ben. Big Ben's not had obviously he's coming off an injury. But the Giants have a whole new offensive and defensive staff they're working with trying to get adjusted for the NFL. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. Make sure to click here to subscribe. My playlist of all my other Steelers videos will be here. I'm going to start a playlist for these Steelers previews because I love to preview the Steelers game every week, and also I'm going to react and review to the game after it happens. I did a couple of those last season. You can find those if you want to. And over here is just a random video YouTube recommended for you. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, this is KMA Preston signing out. Hope you enjoy, and go Steelers.